from 1 Corinthians, 1st chapter, 25th to the 29th verse. 1 Corinthians, 1st chapter, 25 to the 29th. And I tell everybody, get your Bibles, get a pen, have a praise. Yes. And always, when you come to God's house, not just, people always talk about money. Come with a ready mind to sow a praise, and sow a thank you and a hallelujah and an appreciation for God. Because we always talk about finances. God is our source, and God will make things happen even though he don't need much. He took 5, fishes and 3 loaves of bread and fed 5,000 folk. So God don't need much. So if he got 5 folk, he gonna feed 5,000. Mm-hmm. And see, what happens is when you start ministry and you go put yourself out there, the further you go, God gonna go with you. Because we're going far. And I can't wait to get on public access. Yes. We're gonna move, y'all. We're gonna move. All right, let's go to your hearing, 1 Corinthians, 1st chapter, 25th, 29th verse. And it reads as thus: because the foolish things of God is wiser than man, the weakness of God is stronger than man. I like that. For ye see your call, brethren, how not many wise after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. Not many smart folk, not many fancy folk. But God has chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. God has chosen the weak things of the world to confound those things which are mighty. And the base things of the world, and the things which are despised, had God chosen. Yes, the things which are not, to bring to not things that are, that no flesh shall glory in his presence. Mm-hmm. And if I had a topic for today, and it's just this little phrase is, how did you? That's all it is. How did you? How did you? And I say, God, what is this with this, how did you? And you add on to that. And most people will say, people will think you're nothing, or think that you're a nobody. But they ask, how did you did that? How did you do that? How are we here? How are we doing what we're doing? How did you? And see, we got to realize that it comes down to where people will look upon you and what your stature is. Mm-hmm. People will look upon you and want to know, what is your educational background? Mm-hmm. And nowadays, that when you hear preachers and teachers and people of God, they got a DR by their name. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Before there was just, Pastor Johnson and Bishop Wright, or Elder or Smith. Right. Mm-hmm. Nowadays is Dr. Pastor Johnson, and the Right Reverend PhD so and so. Yes. So we got past the name of God, because God said, he gave, the 5. He's talking elders and preachers and pastors. He didn't say doctors. Mm-hmm. He didn't say physicians. Mm-hmm. The 5-fold ministry. Mm-hmm. So now we got so many people with DRs by their name, and now that took the place of who God is. See, a lot of people don't see one thing about this ministry, and once we really get out the box, because right now we're in a box. And once we get out the box, folk ain't gonna like this stuff. Folk ain't gonna like these messages because they're telling you the truth. I'm for God. And see, God said he's going to raise up a nation in that day See, we don't be the nations of the last day that will obey. The reason why folk are here, because they're obeying God. And see, the world will fight against you to obey God. If you're faithful, if you're the only one come to church and you ain't got a ride, God will give you a call.
Yes, he will.
If you ain't got a way to get to God's house, if you step out and say, you know what, I ain't worried about nobody else, I'm coming to church and doing the will of God, God will provide the provision.
Yes. Yes.
Now, God wouldn't give us where we are if there wasn't a need or provision.
Mm-hmm.
God wouldn't bless us with a chairs if they're not going to be filled. God is a God of purpose.
Yes, he is.
And no matter what we see, we saw God move. We see we're in a beautiful place, and we don't know how we did it.
Mm-hmm.
But only thing we can explain is not a phenomenon, is God.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So people are going to ask, how did these things happen? And people will ask you, well, there ain't nobody. Who? People ask, who's Terry Al?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first thing they ask me, who covering you?
Mm-hmm.
Who backing you?
Uh-huh.
First thing they ask you, do you have a degree?
Mm-hmm.
What seminary school do you go to?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to theological school?
Mm-hmm.
Or how do y'all get the money to do all this stuff?
Yes.
How do you make the video? How do you got your CDs out so fast? And where do you get the money for your mortgage and your rent?
Amen.
How did you?
Mm-hmm.
How did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
When you ain't got no support, nobody backing you, folk coming here and there, got a faithful baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I said, well, God did.
All right. That's right.
Yes.
Amen.
And see, people don't understand something. People ask you, how did you pay for that
Mm-hmm.
in your own life? When people walk around, you got a new house and folk don't understand how you get a new house.
Mm-hmm.
How did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And see, we got to understand about is, it's not about how did you do it. It's God did it.
That's right. Amen.
And see, that's the only thing we got to think about is God moving for us. Is God moving for you?
All right.
Is God is your source? See, God is the source of everything.
Yes, he is.
And we got to realize that whether people ask you how you pay for a house or how did you get that job. You know, Sister Hall said earlier that she got a job and there were probably, much more people that's qualified for her. How did she get it? It's called favor.
That's right.
Yes.
Amen.
And God will move for you because you're moving for God.
That's
Yes,
right.
he will.
See, God will move on the situation. See, there's some people who are locked into God. They can't move because God got something particular for them.
Amen.
That's different. But then there's God for those who have a certain purpose to do on that job or on that field.
Amen.
Because see, when somebody's locked into God, they only can go but one way.
That's right.
I'm locked into God. So I can't go nowhere but where I'm at right now. That's why things moving for me because I'm doing the will of God.
That's right.
And when you're not doing the will of God, things won't move for you because you're not walking in line with God.
That's right.
And see, there's some people have a divine purpose. Everybody don't have that on them. But people will ask you, how are you doing it? How did you get that job? There's no explanation in it. You went like everybody else. You signed the application. You walked up to the person. And guess what? They called you back for some unforsaken reason.
That's right.
They liked you. You weren't the prettiest person in there. You didn't have the long credentials. When you pulled your application out, it didn't roll on the ground.
Praise God. Thank you, Lord.
You had one sheet and the cover letter.
Thank you.
Amen.
And folk want to know, wow, they look at you, well, we see you don't have too much experience here.
Glory to God.
But when you start talking, for some reason, I like you.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's something about you that make me want to hire you.
Amen.
And you don't understand how that happened, but then all of a sudden you say, well, usually we don't do this, but I'm going to give you another interview, or we're going to try you out.
Yes.
Amen.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord.
That's how did you,
Do that.
how did you?
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
People look at this, your life you live in. Some people understand. Some people came out of drugs and prostitution, and God made them priests. How did you get out of that situation?
Yes.
How did you get out of that abusive relationship? How did you get out away from that poverty? And how do you make money? You know, we rose up in a neighborhood where, and honestly, we was in the OK Corral.
Amen.
You know, and you know, I got Trustee Watkins right here to tell everybody we raised up in this neighborhood where we were supposed to be shot or locked up. We don't want to be sitting here or standing here right now. And as many of us did not make it.
Yes. Amen.
We are few. Out of 20, there's only about 4 or 5 of us left living and doing right. But we had this, we were the band of the neighborhood nerds. And you know what? Most of the neighborhood nerds made it out.
That's right. Amen.
Thank you, Lord.
Amen.
Thank you, Jesus.
We wasn't the slick folk. We wasn't the one that had the new Air Jordans on. And back then, the NBA jackets and the new sweatsuits, you know, Run DMC and the big gold chains. And we wasn't riding around back then when when you had, a Maximo was the car.
Yes.
You know, back then, if you had a Jetta, you was boss hog then. See. You had a Z back then?
Yes.
Oh, you were kingpin.
Yes. Amen.
See, back then those cars were status quo in the neighborhoods.
Yes.
And we used to sit on the step and say, man, that's my car. That's the kind of car I'm going to get. That's what kind of car I'm going to get. And we looked at these guys and we kind of admired them. They walked down out the street with New Jordans on. You know, they were like, yeah, what's up, man? Y'all ain't nobody. Y'all sitting on the steps. And now that we grown up, they're like, how did you
Do that. That's it. Amen.
Amen.
You know, how do you do that? Wasn't you the nerd?
Yes.
Now I drive up in a Maxima
Yes.
or better,
Yes.
Yes.
but I ain't studying them. The same folk that was all that, they the ones sitting on the step now, but they all cracked out and on drugs. How did you?
Come on.
How did you come or overcome? How did you get out of that situation? How did you move out of that? See, you got to understand, how did you do that?
That's right.
How did you? Hey, we got to ask this question. People always ask, how did you? But more so, if it had not been.
Amen.
It's not how did you, but if it had not been for the Lord on my side, where would I be? What would I be doing? Where would I be going? If it had not been for the Lord. And see, people ask you, how did you do it? I tell them, if it had not been.
Yes.
See, I mess them up.
Yes.
I mess them up. It was God. See, it is God's M.O. to bless the misfit and the underdog.
Yes.
This is how he works. He say he'll confound the wise. He'll use the base things of this world. The foolishness. See, people don't understand God's junk is man's wisdom. So when people see the internet and they going in the moon, you know what? That stuff God's threw in the trash. God gives man his trash. People don't get that. People don't understand that this is everything you see on this earth is the trash of God. And we marvel at it. We'll look at a PhD. Oh, he has a PhD. You trash. Oh no, we went to the moon. That's trash. He said, eyes that have not seen, ears that have not heard, the good things.
Good things. Thank you.
So we can't even fathom what God can do. So when we go to Hawaii and see how beautiful Hawaii is?
Yeah.
Hawaii is trash. And then people will like say, I went to Hawaii. I said, oh, that's trash. What? What is wrong with you? That is the beautifulest place I've ever seen in my life. That's God's trash. That's his leftovers.
Wow.
That's something he don't even want.
Wow.
God put down here stuff he don't even really want. And we marvel at it. But we wink at when God does a miracle. When God blesses us, we don't even acknowledge it. And if I myself went by what people do, what people say, see right now, God will bless a ministry. God will have you try you. He'll wait to see. He'll say, preach to the pews. People say, well, preach to the pews.
That's right.
See, if you, it's not in who's here, it's what you're doing with what you got.
Yes.
He gonna feel it.
Yes.
I ain't worried about that because we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. But see, one thing about people got to know in the audience, people got to know out there, going to be in TV land, because I'm calling it out already, that we're going to bless no matter what. God going to bless you because he's going to want to know how GPW doing. Who there? And we just start. People don't understand this is a phenomenon already. I said, God, make this ministry a phenomenon. Confound the folk. Even for my own peers, they don't understand why and how I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm by myself. I'm not by myself. I got my married band of men with me.
Yes.
And I mean men and women.
Yes.
See, when David went out, when Saul was after David, he kicked David, tried to kill him, and David went out by himself. But then God said, I gave David 400 men that's with him.
Yes.
Now with 400 men, David was able to capture the kingdom. And all I got is married band.
Yes.
But see, you gotta understand, the band was married.
Yes.
See, the band was happy.
Yes.
And see, we were few, but we happy.
Yes.
And we proud of what we got.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Lord.
And see, God, the foolishness of God. This is foolishness, right, Chief? This is what? What? What organization is backing you? Where do you get the money for that? That's Mackey. That's the top of the line sound system. How did you get that? See, they thinking we're gonna have a transistor radio with the Radio Shack and lick it and got some duct tape and tie everything together. We're gonna have a pan. I'm gonna draw the bird on the door
Yes.
and handwritten signs.
Yes.
We're going to have a shack. Every chair is going to be different from one another. We're going to have a lounge chair here, a bench here, 2 folding tables here.
Look at God.
And I'm going to stand on a cardboard box and preach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
Devil's a lie.
See, that's what man would tell you statistically how you're doing it. Because that's where we should be at this point. Because you don't have nobody helping you. But it's how did you? How did you? God did it. God will continuously to do it.
Yes.
And we're going to have church, whether it's 2, 3, 4. We're going to be here and we're going to grow. We got here for just a year. You know why I only say that we only going to be here for a year? Because I don't think we're going to have room enough. And if you look now, you're going to say, you statistically, the rate of growth for a church is 2% per Sunday. But the rate of growth that we supposed to have our own building.
Right.
The rate of growth that we ain't supposed to be here since we supposed to be in ministry for 5 years for this happened.
Yes. Yes.
Why I worry about your rate of growth when I see stuff going on? Why I worry about what's going on with everything in the world? See, I'm happy already. I relax and see what God told me to be. It's the in season, out of season. Preach to the pews, preach to the masses. Preach to the kids, preach to the old lady. Preach to the young man. See, one thing about it, when God moves and you sow, God going to bless those who working for him.
Yes.
And when nobody around and there's few, he'll bless them extra
Yes.
Yes.
for their extra faithfulness.
Yes.
And when every time you walk to something, something is going to move for you. And people going to wonder how you did it. Because you got the favor of God on you. And see, I wonder, it behooves me. And I'm at my wit's end when people don't come for free stuff from God.
Yeah.
And they question God. And they wonder how things are done. All you got to do is ask. He said, you have not because you ask not. But who you asking? See, I didn't ask anybody to do what I'm doing. God told me to do it.
Yes.
I didn't ask to say, I didn't go to my pastor at the time and say, can I start a church? Now, I don't know if that person would say yes or no. I don't know if that person would sanction me. I checked with God. God said, do my will. Now, if I check with that person, guess what? We'll be in a cardboard box.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not taking away from nobody or no leaders, but you just don't walk up to somebody and say, hey, I'm going to start a ministry. They're going to look at you, first of all, well, why did you come here for? Are you trying to take my members? Or why did you come here for? What are you doing here? It's a threat. Start a mutiny? What you here for? And I mean, in certain cases, they have a right to think that way. Because some people are there for certain motives.
Yes.
But when you just come here for God, I didn't have to let you sign on the back of my checks that told people or co-sign for me to do what God told me to do. See, and they're going to want to know how did you, and everything you do in your life, they're going to want to know how did you get that job.
Yes.
How you come from the ghetto and you own property and houses.
Jesus.
How did you get a new car and you ain't had to pay no money down for it? How did you?
Yes.
How did you get? God will use the devil to bless you.
Yes.
Yes.
God will say he'll take the mighty things of this world. He'll take the things that, people that think they're wise. And he said he'll confound them. And see, we got to understand what confound means. It's just to throw things, to throw people in confusion.
Yes.
To throw them in confusion. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because people don't understand that God will take those base things, those weak things, the things that people don't think about, and mess them up.
Yes.
See, that's what God will do.
Yes.
And see, one thing I love about God, he'll take the foolishness of him. He'll take the weakest thing about God. You know what? It's foolishness to come to church. You should be home, watering your lawn, washing your car. You work hard all week long. This is the day of rest. Go sit home. Watch some TV. But you know what? All week long, you fought at school, trying to get the grades, studying. Went to work for 8 hours. Man got on your nerves. Why you late 2 minutes? God is free. We'll tell people, come on in. God said, come as you are.
That's right.
Whosoever will. He don't put no steps on you. When you go to work, there's stipulation. You better be here at 30.
That's right.
Better be on time. You better get your work done, or we're going to dock you. We're going to not only we're going to overwork you and underpay you. And when the tax man comes, he's going to take your money. He's going to take 5% tax, 10% tax, and when you get your check it out. Look on the other statement. You're going to have Maryland state tax, piggyback tax, FICA, what else? All that going to come out. Then insurance, benefits, 401k, and if you're a union, dues. So already, if you got $1,000 coming to you, you better looking at $750 if.
Right.
Amen.
That to me, that's foolishness. But when you come to God, he said, I'm going to give you 100-fold.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
That's, see, to the world, that's foolishness.
Yes.
Paying tithes, giving to a church. Why y'all giving that man y'all money? You ain't give me nothing.
Bless the Lord.
This is Malachi
Yes.
said, bring the tithes. This is your gift to God. So I tell people, when you sow in church, you ain't giving it to me, you give it to God's Perfect Will Ministry. So we can just keep the lights on the building over someplace you can come so you can get some refuge.
Amen. Amen.
If a church is a business, it's a racket. If it's not for refuge, that you can come in and get your mind right, because everybody ain't gonna be sitting in a psychiatrist's office. And guess what? Psychiatrists need pills themselves, because they crazy. Because most psychiatrists need psychiatrists.
Yes.
But see, God want to know, how did you? See, people ask the question, how did you do that?
Yes. Yes.
People keep asking me, how are you doing this? Y'all don't understand how much flack I get. People who ask me questions, and people say, well, Terry, you started the church, the first thing to pray, who's your covering? They keep asking me, who's your covering? I keep telling them, I read the book and it said Jesus.
Amen.
Thank you, Lord.
How are you doing this? You know what? We're going to get our very band of men. I'm praying for young folk.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Lord.
God is going to bring people into this ministry who are going to work for him. We're going to raise up the new nation, and we're going to be crazy. Folk going to think this ministry is so crazy. We're going to have so much fun here.
Amen.
Amen.
And people going to want to know, how did you do that? And I keep saying, it's not how.
The Purpose Show, uploaded every Tuesday, where everything has its purpose under the heavens. We talk about faith and community and the topics that relate to your life today. Question of the Word in the Week Bible Study every Tuesday at 7 p.m. We go through the journey of walking through the Word of God and break down and unpack for the people to learn God and his purpose and his direction through the Word. E-Church Sunday Worship Live every Sunday at 12 noon. Our live virtual service. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all the social media platforms. Come on over. Be a part of the live service. You can't come to church, we come to you. If you're looking for a real church, come on over. In person at 5621 Old Frederick Road, Kingsville, Maryland, in Baltimore, 21228 Studio 8. There's room for you to come in for a spirit-filled atmosphere. So come on to church. The Vault. We are posting up every Sunday worship live services, old Bible studies, on Facebook Live. Prayer list. 1 Thessalonians 5:17. Prayer without ceasing. Drop a comment in the chat or online with your prayer request. See sewing online. Go to www.gpwm.org. Give your 10th of your time, talent, and finances to help us to give God his portion for committing to the work of the Lord. Malachi 3:6. God he also said he'll open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing. He'll rebuke the devourer. Or you can go to Cash App and give the $ GPWMPT. We thank God for your support for the church and the community out